Hi everyone, and welcome to the Young Lawyer Podcast. For all those newbies listening in, this podcast discusses topics such as studying law, mental states, mindsets, dealing with external factors and unexpected circumstances. Along the way, having guest speakers such as senior associates, graduate lawyers, and students. Now let's get into it.
Well, welcome to the Young Lawyer Podcast. It's great to have you on. If you can start by introducing yourself and how you began your legal journey.
Hi, Damon. Thanks for having me. My name is Tayla Mojidi. I'm a family lawyer at Cudmore Family Lawyers in Brisbane here. I suppose my family law journey was pretty smooth in a way. I was one of those annoying kids that just knew what she wanted to do. So from the kind of age of I'd say 7 or 8, grade 3, I wanted to be a witness, and I'm not sure I knew exactly what a witness was, but eventually that evolved into, I actually want to be a lawyer. I think my parents had a hand in that. And yeah, here I am. So obviously the schooling, the degrees, the university, that's basically my life in a nutshell, my professional life anyway.
So how did the journey, progress from going, all right, I want to, be a witness, then be a lawyer, then from school, and how does it progress?
Sure. So essentially I completed 12 years of schooling, as we generally all do, on the Sunshine Coast, which I know you're in the Sunshine Coast at the moment. So I grew up around the Sunshine Coast hinterland in sort of Nambour, Bly area. At that time, the Sunshine Coast University wasn't offering a law degree. So after I left grade 12, I was a little bit stuck. I didn't really know what to do, and I didn't want to necessarily travel 2 hours down to Brisbane to do my degree. I think I was 17 at the time, so that was pretty confronting for me. So I decided to enrol at the University of the Sunshine Coast in a Bachelor of Justice and Legal Studies, which it was a lot of kind of policing subjects, I suppose, politics, social sciences, obviously justice was involved in that as well. And after the end of that year, I decided that, yes, law is something that I definitely wanted to do. So I then applied for a position at QUT in a straight Bachelor of Laws, and I got into that the next year. So I essentially had a gap year, but I studied throughout my gap year. And I'm really glad I did. It was a fantastic experience and kind of gave me a little bit of a personal and professional springboard to getting into law and learning about uni life without necessarily the pressure of being involved in the degree that I really, really wanted to do.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And I guess 2 questions out of that were, did you have any experience working in law prior to actually making the leap? And secondly, what was it about the law that made you go, right, I'm going to go all in, I'm going to go to Brisbane and do the degree?
Yeah, definitely. So I actually worked, I think my first job was at Bradley and Bray in Nambour. And I know you've had a few of your guests on the podcast who work at Bradley and Bray. Or are directors at Bradley and Bray. And yeah, so that was my first kind of legal job experience. I was doing conveyancing there, which I think a lot of people kind of dive headfirst into conveyancing when they're quite junior. I think it's a fantastic foundation to have for any area of law, really. It's great attention to detail. And really just being in a law firm was fantastic for me, just kind of experiencing the lawyers coming and going and talking in the background. And I would always pay attention and kind of see what I could pick up. From there, I went to a couple of other law firms on the Sunshine Coast and sort of tried to find my feet a bit. And then I remember when I kind of was jumping in between kind of law firms and doing hospitality jobs to kind of pay the bills and, pay the uni fees and textbooks and all of that kind of thing. I think at one stage I had about 3 jobs going, one in wedding and event planning. It's quite funny that I'm a divorce and family lawyer now, one in a smoothie bar and one in a law firm. So that was a pretty crazy time. But towards the end there, in about 2014, when I was admitted, I got a job at Greenhouse Picard, which is in Kawana on the Sunshine Coast. And look, I had a fantastic experience there. I was still doing conveyancing at the time, but they would let me kind of shadow other solicitors, and in particular family law and litigation solicitors. And I still talk to the people there because I look up to them. They were fantastic mentors, more from a career point of view, because I was quite young in my career. They really offered me a lot of advice as to kind of how to go forward and move up in my career. So I started there in 2014 and remained there for about 2 years. And after that period, I was doing a lot of conveyancing. And I decided to go overseas, as many of us do when we've been working for a bit and just think, do I am I where I want to be? So I went over to Europe and did a bit of backpacking and lived the life over there for a little bit. And I remember I was at a theme park in London, I think it was in London. At the time, I got an email from a family friend who had a law firm, and he said, come and do family law. So I did that and eventually learned kind of the ropes there, moved to Brisbane, and have been in family law ever since, and bloody love it. It's fantastic.
So just for clarity, you are still working in Sunshine Coast but travelling down to Brisbane, or doing it externally for uni?
Yeah. So I was still working on the Sunshine Coast and travelling down to Brisbane. So I was never able to really hold a full-time position, which was an absolute nightmare on kind of the learning and the finances, as you could imagine. So a lot of the time I would go to university for the morning, go to work in the afternoon just for a few hours. And then I would go to my events planning and hospitality job from about 6 p.m. until 3 a.m., get up the next day and do it all again, which was crazy. I look back and I think, how did I do that? But I think if you really want to do something, especially like law, a lot of us are very resilient and we just know this is what I want to do, and just kind of made it work.
Yeah, completely agree. You look back, you go, I don't know how I did that, but at the time all you could see was like just that finish line. You're just like, I just got to get there.
Yeah, totally. It's like tunnel vision, I guess.
Yeah, I can understand that. How did you find your transition from a student to a lawyer? And how do you feel, I guess, did uni prepare you enough for it, or was it more like your hands-on experience helped? Or
Yeah, so I had a realisation on the first day that I was admitted. So I was admitted, and then I remember going to work on the next day, and at the time I was employed by Greenhouse Picard. Walked into work, and then it just hit me that I didn't know everything. And it was very shocking, and I was very upset, and I felt like mailing my degree back to the university. But at the end of the day, I think the experience that university gives us, you know, the background of law, all of that kind of thing, fantastic. The real kind of kicker for me in my career has been that hands-on experience. I've been very fortunate to work in firms where people have just given me all the time in the world. If I've asked them a question, they've really taken time to sit with me and not only tell me how to do something, but tell me why we do something. And I really appreciated that experience. And most firms that I have worked for, there's always been someone, or, you know, most lawyers are willing to invest time in you if you're willing to listen to them and learn from them. So as far as a transition from student to lawyer, goodness me, it was a shock when I realised that I actually didn't know what I was doing. But the profession really kind of cradles you and empowers you when you actually leave uni. And I think most lawyers go through that experience and understand that. So they're really amenable to letting you know that they're there and they're willing to teach you.
yeah, I completely agree that whole imposter syndrome, it's definitely hits you hard on the first couple of weeks.
Oh, definitely. I mean, even in university, I found imposter syndrome was just running rampant. I remember just absolutely bawling my eyes out on my first day of QUT, thinking, oh God, I'm actually, doing this law thing. And it was a lot harder than I thought. I'm not quite sure what I was expecting, but once you do kind of roll with the punches, understand how university works, firstly, even though I did that year at the Sunshine Coast University, changing degrees is a little bit turbulent. Once I did that, I found that it was a lot easier to kind of hone in and focus on what I actually had to be doing, as opposed to having a complete breakdown about thinking about it. I think I got stuck in my head quite a bit.
Yeah, so other than obviously that feeling, what other sort of setbacks did you face in your journey, either at uni or I guess as you become a lawyer that, other people might have gone through, and what advice would you have for someone in a similar situation?
Sure. I think one of the major setbacks I had was the availability of jobs. It was really hard to get a job on the Sunshine Coast at the time that I kind of graduated. And I did obviously have my job at Greenhill Picard, but I'd only had that position for a short period of time prior to being admitted. So I think you really have to stick at it. I got so many rejection emails and I sent so many applications, and sometimes you don't even get an email back, and it can be quite heartbreaking when you're willing to invest all of the time in the world and you want to work until midnight learning things, and you've got so much to give, but no one is kind of willing to take it. And I think that some people get quite put off by that, as you would. It's kind of it's rejection hurts, but at the end of the day, there's a whole heap of graduates out there, and I think you have to kind of set yourself apart from the pack. And one of the ways that you can do that is to be resilient and accept the failures for what they are, which is, I applied for a job, I didn't get it, but there's going to be another job out there, and just keep going.
Yeah, that's such a great point of view to have. Other than resilience, I guess, what else could someone do to stand out?
Yeah, sure. So I think forming personal connections with your, particularly the professionals in your area, is a really good thing to do. I joined as a student member of the Sunshine Coast Law Association when I was going through my degree, even though I was studying in Brisbane. And I found that just through having that membership, I was meeting a lot of people, I was going to a lot of events, and it kind of just got me involved in speaking to people. And when I go for interviews, I could kind of say, oh, I know that person through this event, and it kind of got my foot in the door in a more personal way. And not only that, more from a character point of view, it got me talking to lawyers and being confident in the way that I would portray myself in an interview process, to the point where I remember I went for a job once and I think I called them about 10 times over 10 days, because I said, is he ready to speak to me yet? Can you speak to me yet? Do you have a job for me yet? And I was just so confident in that process, and I knew what I had to offer. And eventually, I think they gave me the job because they were sick of hearing from me, to be quite honest with you. But I think that that's a really good approach to have. Just keep your finger on the pulse, keep your foot in the door, keep speaking to people and being involved, because if you're front of mind, eventually someone's going to say, hey, what do you have to offer?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And especially networking in today's age with everything we have at our fingertips, it makes it so easy to put out, I guess, a personal brand, especially LinkedIn. Like, there's people over it looking at different articles, posting different articles. Like, it's a good way to connect and meet other people in the profession.
Yeah, definitely. And I think even still outside of the profession, networking is so important. From a professional perspective, when you are getting a job in law, yes, networking within the profession is fantastic. And I think it's a key part of being employable. Really, these days, everyone has a website, everyone's got a blog, everyone's got a professional Facebook page. The way that you can really set yourself apart is to personally network within the profession, but also outside of the profession. I meet with a number of people on a weekly basis, even now, who are within and outside of the profession, other professionals, accountants, financial planners, people in, different kind of public service roles, things like that. And I think everyone has a story, and if you can tell your story to people and understand who they are as well as people, that not only brings clients in the door, but it gives you a really unique perspective in relation to how you practice. Everyone's always willing to help each other out, and I think that that's something that's really hurtled my career to the next level, just being able to network and speak to people.
Yeah, that's such great advice, and yeah, I completely agree. It's so something so simple, but it just works so effectively.
Definitely. I think everyone just wants to be heard at the end of the day. And if you can create a connection with someone, really know their story, then, you're onto a winner.
Yeah, that's such great advice. I guess I'm heading towards the end at the moment. Any advice for someone wanting to take up a legal career?
I would say definitely resilience, as I've mentioned before, is something to be, you really do have to be resilient in that interview process. You're going to get knocked back quite a bit. And if you're not, if you get the first job that you apply for, fantastic, that's wonderful. Doesn't happen to all of us, unfortunately. I wish it did. But you do have to roll with the punches and realise that there are, multiple candidates, sometimes hundreds of candidates applying for this position. There's different levels of firms that you can work for, and there's in-house as well. Really finding where you fit is probably the best advice that I could give a young lawyer. Firstly, resilience, fantastic. Secondly, find where you fit, whether that be a boutique firm or whether it be, big law, in-house. There's no shame in kind of testing the waters out a little bit and finding what makes you happy at work, because at the end of the day, we spend, I'm not going to lie, 8+ hours sitting, with our colleagues in a law firm, and you need to be happy there, or at least you need to enjoy what you're doing. So there's something to be said for making sure that firstly you have a job, but secondly, really make sure that whatever you're doing aligns with who you are as a person and what you want to do for the next, 20 to 50 years, because at the end of the day, you'll be doing it for that long, most likely. We don't do 5 years of uni for nothing.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, that's such great advice. Alrighty. My final question is, what is something you know now that you wish you knew back then when you first started?
What is something? That's a very hard question. I wish you had have prepped me for these, honestly. All right.
Stumping people with this one at the end.
Something I know now. All right. Look, I would say probably in terms of character, lawyers are humans too. We've all got personalities. We've all got other things going on in our lives, I hope. But most lawyers that I've spoken to in my career, and especially being more, mid to senior level at the moment, I think I'm more comfortable speaking to very senior lawyers and, having a personal conversation with them. And I think we really do need to remember that I think Clarissa Raywood summed it up well in her interview with you. We are humans first, we're people first, and lawyers second. And we can't lose sight of that, because at the end of the day, our clients are hiring, yes, a lawyer, but they can plug something into Google, a machine, and get an answer out of it. They want someone who has a little bit of life experience and can explain things to them in a way that they understand. And you need to understand kind of the way of the world, I suppose, and the way other lawyers think, your own kind of social upbringing, things like that. And I think the best way to do that is to really speak to people, speak to lawyers, and understand that we're all people and it's okay to have a personality outside of the law. You don't need to be all law time, and that I think in turn helps your mental health as well.
Yeah, that's such a great point. Well, that wraps up all my questions. If anyone wants to get in touch with you or have a chat, how can they go about doing that?
Sure. So I currently work at Cudmore Legal. We're a fantastic boutique firm in North Brisbane. So you can reach out to me there via my LinkedIn profile. So you can just search Tayla Mojidi, Senior Associate at Cudmore Legal. Jump onto our website. I'd be happy to have a chat to any young law students or anyone thinking about this career, young lawyers. I think mentorship is really necessary. And again, we just need to remember that we're all people, and it's okay to sit down and have a chat about your dog or what coffee you enjoy or what gym you go to, and then, oh, by the way, how's that case, or all of those kinds of things. I think more than happy to speak to people and really get to know who our young lawyers, who our lawyers to be are. It's exciting.
That's such a good point. And yeah, that's fantastic. Well, thanks again for taking the time to jump on and chat with me. It's been great having you.
No worries at all. Thank you for having me.
And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for listening to the Young Lawyer Podcast. If you found this content useful or enjoyable, make sure you share it with your family, friends, or colleagues. Let's grow the Young Lawyer community. If I can ask you a huge favour, can you please leave a review or a comment on iTunes and subscribe to the YouTube channel, so that way we can grow the community even further. Until next time, guys.